What if the answer to all of your questions was simple? What if 3 levels, simple pyramid, provided you with the guidance, the direction to do your art? Well, I think that I know the answer, and I'm going to share it with you right here and now. Hi, I'm Dr. B, the Creativity Sensei, helping you to transform your creativity, boost your confidence, and find joy in your work. I'm doing a walk and talk, and I just noticed that tree that fell down because I have found that by moving my body, it unlocks the flow of ideas. And I strongly suggest, if you are ever lacking for ideas or trying to figure out how to start, if you're halfway through the project and your excitement is waning, if you're about to finish a product but you're just not quite sure what to do, get outside and go for a walk. It is a miracle cure that is available to most of us. I think that my walk and talk videos are far more effective than those in the studio, but there is a place for those as well. 3 key steps to getting a project done. And it doesn't matter what kind of project you're working on. It could be developing a new recipe for chocolate chip cookies. And if you come up with that, please send it to me. I'll be your test subject. Maybe it's making a vest. Maybe it's writing a haiku or a short story. Maybe it's painting a triptych that depicts scenes from your childhood. The product doesn't matter, but getting going, maintaining your movement, and finishing up, those are key. I call these steps motivation as the foundational level, modification, a middle level where revision and edits take place, and manifestation, where you release that product into the world. I'm not sure anyone can exist in a vacuum without the other. You might dream of having some product that you can mass produce, sell in quantity, and make millions of dollars. But we're going to leave that to some other company. In order to get started, we need to be motivated. Motivation can come from a lot of different places. It all depends on where you are in your creative journey. As a writer myself, I feel like I have quite a bit of experience, but if I was to take up a new art form, for example, glass blowing, I would begin as a novice. My motivation to learn might be in finishing something that I could then see representative of my work, my knowledge. Sometimes these products are things that we are going to keep for ourselves. But in other cases, you might gift it away, or You might share it with the world. Maybe a painting transformed into a page on a calendar sold in bookstores. Motivation is the start of it all. Imagine a game board with the token playing pieces. Everybody starts at the beginning. A roll of the dice helps you to progress toward your journey. What is the motivation when we play a game? To win, in most cases. But another motivation might be to pass time. People who play solitaire, are they winning against any opponent? No. Sometimes they're trying to beat a personal best, especially if you're using a computer program. But in many cases, people playing with a traditional deck of cards are simply going through the paces of using up time, a pastime, a hobby. What is the motivation in that case? I guess to find some activity that stimulates your brain. Even in playing solitaire, you have to think. You have to look at the cards, the symbols, understand their meaning, know the rules of the game, follow those rules, no cheating allowed, and then see if you can move everything from those stacks into the individual card suits and therefore piles in order. I always thought that maybe the whole purpose of solitaire was it was a more fun way to organize a deck of cards. Motivation, it is the beginning. Why does somebody choose to write a poem? Maybe they're motivated by the fine weather that they're experiencing. Maybe they want to see how well they can use words, metaphor, rhythm, rhyme to share inner thoughts, beliefs, ideas, descriptions. How many people write poetry, and how many people keep those poems in a notebook, a journal, a hard drive? They write for themselves. They might go back and reread some of those poems. I think in a lot of cases, they never do. And yet they are motivated to keep going. When I start writing a novel, one of the things that motivates me is not the idea that I can send it off to an agent or a publisher and become a best-selling author. That is not motivating. It actually elicits a sense of fear and anxiety, trepidation. I am motivated by trying to meet a certain word count. Very often when I'm writing, I'll set my timer for 90 minutes. You can determine what length of time works best for you, and it certainly is dependent on the art form that you're working in. As a writer, 90 minutes for me is perfect. If I try to go past the 90 minutes, there's a bit of energy that has drained out. If I write less than 90 minutes, I feel like I haven't quite got up to speed yet. Sort of like a car getting going. That 0 to 60 moment. Well, in my old car, it takes a little bit of effort. It motivates me to think about writing for 90 minutes. It motivates me to see how many words I can write. What I typically do in a writing session is I'll highlight the last word that I wrote the day before, the week before. Then I'll just continue. And when I get to the end, when my timer goes off, I'll scroll back, highlighting those words, and then I can see my output, my word count. That motivates me. Last summer, I was working on a novel. I didn't care what really happened with that novel. It was a charming little story of a young man who finds a manuscript when he's helping his uncle clean out a house. And he sends that manuscript off to an agent who snaps it up and makes him an overnight success. It was so much fun to write. When I tell people that writing is fun, a lot of times they look at me like I'm crazy, like I have two heads. But when you take up your art form with joy, when you are motivated, it can be the funnest thing that you do. Now, if I was going to learn glass blowing, I also need to understand what is my motivation there. And am I motivated to accept my mistakes? Am I motivated to put in my time? Am I motivated to keep going when the glass breaks? Am I motivated to read books, watch YouTubes, listen to a teacher or a mentor? Am I motivated to be better? How can we make this process, the beginner's process, more fun? Maybe it's about the baby steps involved. Doing a small project. Winning at making a little ball that maybe is going to hang from a Christmas tree or in a window to catch the light and reflect into a room. That could be good motivation to make something easy, simple. And once we learn that craft, we are motivated to keep going. Motivation, motive, reason. What is your motivation? What is your art form? Let's break it down. A fiber artist, they might be motivated to make an outfit to wear to a function. I speak for myself when I talk about this. Often I am motivated only at the last possible moment. And there's something about that too. When the deadline is looming, all of a sudden, all of the pieces align. You reach back to lessons learned from previous mistakes, and you make changes based on your experience. This often happened when I was in the drapery making business. I would be procrastinating about getting started on making a valance, a Roman shade, swags and jabots, a pillow, a tablecloth. It didn't matter. But when the due date was coming up and my husband was scheduled to install that valance in somebody's home, suddenly I was motivated to do the work. In some cases, I would set my alarm clock for 4 a.m. and get up knowing that the thing I was working on needed to be finished pressed, assembled, mounted in some cases, bagged for a 10 a.m. installation. The ticking clock is a great motivator. A lot of times I didn't even have an idea of exactly how to do the thing I had to do. What I believe is that a part of your brain continues to solve those puzzles, even if you are not actively working on them. Suddenly, you are motivated to figure it out. You have to. You don't have a choice. What about visual arts, painting? There are some forms of visual art that take time to dry before you can continue. You might be motivated to learn a new technique, and that method might shorten the time spent on task. Culinary arts. Maybe there's an old family recipe that you have enjoyed tasting for years, but some of the processes of maybe cutting up or pickling and brining or canning just don't fit your lifestyle anymore. You're motivated to enjoy those tastes once again. So you figure out a different method that will bring you to the same finish point. Industrial arts, carpentry, metalwork. You might be motivated to learn how to use a new piece of equipment. And that piece of equipment provides you with a different method, process, but you have to learn it first. In being motivated, we often have to be willing to make mistakes. All too often, those mistakes squelch your motivation completely. Mistakes cost money and they cost time. They also cost your reputation. Other art forms. Performance. Recently, I have found myself singing in the car. I do this because sometimes I feel a little bit sleepy in the afternoon. When I'm driving home from classes, the last thing I want to do is go off the road because I nodded off. I started singing along to songs that I know. This led me to be motivated to do karaoke. Wouldn't that be fun? And performing arts. Are you motivated to do a comedy set at a comedy club? What motivates you? Do you want to be the next John Mulaney? We need more laughter. Maybe it's your turn. Environmental arts has to do with your surroundings. Interior, exterior. Gardening. Are you motivated to till up a new patch of your yard and plant seeds? Can you picture it? Can you see how those seedlings or bulbs can transform that part of your yard with color, height, fragrance? Are you motivated to redecorate a room in your house? Changing the color changes everything. Changes the setting, changes the mood. Environmental arts, I think, are sometimes underrated, but I know how important they are to our creativity. What have I forgotten? Live life epically. Literary, visual, environmental, performing, industrial, culinary. Maybe I did catch them all. I had intended to cover all three aspects of my pyramid, but I have gone on long enough. A nice walk and talk. Today, the focus was on motivation. In the comments below, what motivates you to do your art? What motivates you to get started? Let's share, let's build a community. I'm here for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. A biento.